Mushoku Tensei, Wholesome Facts Compilation Part 2.
Did you know that Zonoba and Cliff are Rudeus' friends who always stand by his side? Both Zonoba and Cliff demonstrate unwavering loyalty to Rudeus, even more than most of his family. They consistently support and assist Rudeus in every circumstance, providing crucial aids such as helping him with his MK armor and assisting him in battles. Even in the Dark Timeline, they remain loyal to Rudeus. In this timeline, Cliff, deeply devoted to his Millis faith, betrays his own teachings and people by stealing a book containing god-tier magic to help Rudeus save Roxy. Unfortunately, this act leads to them being branded as criminals by the Militian and ultimately results in Cliff's demise. While many of Rudeus' family and friends abandon him in the Dark Timeline due to his descent into madness, Zonoba is one of the few who stay by his side. Even after Rudeus blames him for his failed projects, Zonoba remains there for his master. Sadly, he, Aisha, and a few others eventually die at the hands of the Millis Knights in that timeline. Both Zonoba and Cliff are friends who stand by Rudeus no matter what. They are the friends that Rudeus doesn't deserve, but is blessed to have. Did you know that despite initially harboring hatred towards each other, Nina and Eris eventually became close friends? When they first met, Nina despised Eris for her brash demeanor, while Eris saw Nina as nothing but a nuisance. Eris was at the Sword Sanctum to grow stronger, hoping to become Rudeus's equal, the man she loved. Initially dismissing Eris's goal as foolish, Nina's perspective shifted after visiting the Rano Magic Academy and witnessing Rudeus's strength firsthand. She stopped bullying Eris and focused on her own growth, eventually coming to see Eris as her rival. Later, Isekai arrived at the Sword Sanctum, a practitioner of the water god style brought there to train alongside them. Through continuous dueling, Eris, Nina, and Isekai discovered each other's weaknesses, and without realizing it, the trio became close friends. From initial animosity to becoming rivals, and from rivals to close friends, their shared determination to become stronger forged an unbreakable bond among them. Through understanding each other's weaknesses, even the toughest beginnings can lead to warm friendships. Eris was initially hard to approach, but now she has people she considers both friends and rivals. Did you know that Orsted eventually considered Rudeus his friend? In all previous loops, throughout his entire life, Orsted had never done anything for the sake of others. His sole purpose was to destroy Hitogami. He would do anything that benefited him, and avoid anything that would harm him, including unnecessary battles that would drain his mana. He's always alone, without having what it's called friends. Until Rudeus arrived in this current loop. Rudeus's appearance in that timeline made Orsted do something unusual. In the final arc, Rudeus and his friends fought with all their might against Hitogami's apostles without involving Orsted. They managed to defeat Badagati and thought everything was over. However, when Alexander, whom they thought was dead, rose again, they were already exhausted and overwhelmed with no power left. At that moment, Orsted assured them he would handle it. When Rudeus asked Orsted why, and if it wouldn't be detrimental to him, Orsted replied that he just wanted to. When Rudeus asked what he wanted, Orsted continued, saying he wanted to experience fighting alongside trusted friends. He was willing to use his mana to protect Rudeus, whom he now considered a friend. Orsted then smiled at Rudeus, before he eventually f***ed up Alexander. Did you know that after the second Orsted incident, Eris asked Rudeus to duel? 5 years later, they finally reunited. Eris asked Rudeus if he truly loved both his wives. Rudeus replied with a yes, expressing his deep affection for them. Eris then questioned if Rudeus hated her. Rudeus responded no. In his inner monologue, he reflected on the pain he had felt when Eris left, but now he could better understand her actions. Eris admitted that she still loved Rudeus and wanted him to continue loving her. Eris then proposed the duel to Rudeus. If Rudeus won, Eris would leave, but if Eris won, Rudeus had to love her. However, when the duel began, Rudeus didn't move. He stated that if winning meant causing Eris to leave, then he would rather lose. Eris asked if she could become a part of his family. Rudeus agreed, expressing that he still loved Eris and wanted her to marry him. Eris then said that she wasn't as cute as Sylphiette and Roxy. Rudeus replied that it didn't matter. Eris was gorgeous, even enchanting, and thus, the two finally got back together again. Did you know that when Sylphie saw Rudeus bringing Roxy, she became worried? Sylphie knew it was inevitable that Rudeus would bring another woman into their lives. She accepted this, understanding that other women would hold special places in his heart too. She never felt entitled to his exclusive love, but her true fear wasn't about Rudeus wanting another wife. When he stood beside Roxy, ready to say something important, Sylphie feared something more terrifying. She feared that Rudeus no longer loved her and was leaving with someone else. The thought of losing him, the man she couldn't imagine living without, was unbearable. However, Annalise's reassurance that Rudeus truly loved her quickly dissolved Sylphie's fears. When Rudeus expressed his desire to include Roxy in their lives, Sylphie embraced her as Rudeus's second wife. Later, Sylphie confided her deepest fears to Rudeus. Hearing Sylphie's worries, Rudeus apologized and promised that he would never leave her and would always love her, because Sylphie is also important to him. Did you know that due to their reliance on telepathy, the Migard race isn't proficient in verbal communication? As a race possessing this unique trait, the Migard prefer to communicate through telepathy, resulting in only a few of them being able to speak verbally. When Roxy's parents discovered that she couldn't use telepathy, it became a huge problem. Initially, they thought their daughter's telepathic ability might simply be delayed and that Roxy would be able to use it as she got older. However, as Roxy grew up, she still couldn't use telepathy. This forced her parents to learn to speak verbally. They decided to relearn the demon god tongue, the language commonly used by demon races, so they could teach Roxy to speak and communicate with her. Did you know that Roxy met Eris and Sylphiette when they were children, long before they became fellow wives of Rudeus? Before becoming Rudeus's magic tutor, Roxy had already encountered both girls. In chapter 52 of the Roxy is Serious spin-off manga, written by the author himself, Roxy saw Eris in the Fito region of the Boreas household. Before taking up the position as Rudeus's tutor, Roxy applied for a job at Philip Boreas's house. There, she met young Eris for the first time. According to Roxy, Eris was a rude and mischievous child who lacked manners. In short, Philip rejected Roxy as Eris's magic tutor, and Roxy concluded that Philip turned her down because she was of the demon race. After that, Roxy traveled to Buena Village, where she met young Rudeus and Sylphiette. During Sylphie's baby blues period after giving birth to Sieg, Roxy revealed to Sylphiette that she had once met her when she was a child. Sylphiette was very young then, so she might not remember. At that time, Sylphie's parents were concerned about her green hair, fearing she might be of the supered race. Roxy reassured Sylphie's parents that she wasn't. Little did Roxy know that the children she once met would grow up to share their lives with her as Rudeus's wives. Did you know that after giving birth to Sieg and seeing his green hair, Sylphiette reverted to her old self, a little girl who was weak and often bullied during her childhood. As a young girl, Sylphiette would often cry and ask why her hair was green. Her parents wouldn't answer but would instead hug her, reassuring her that everything would be okay. While she feared that her son might be the reincarnation of Laplace, her main concern was the potential challenges her child would face due to his green hair. Sylphiette was afraid that her son would endure the same bullying she had experienced as a child because of his hair color. It was at that moment when Roxy approached her and sought to confirm whether she was less concerned about whether Sieg was Laplace and more worried about his green hair. Roxy essentially reassured her that everything would be okay. With a newfound sense of reassurance and support, Sylphiette embraced the journey ahead, knowing she was not alone. As dependable as always, Sylphiette understood why Rudeus respected Roxy, and because of Roxy, her worries began to fade. Did you know that after Rudeus and Eris officially became husband and wife, Eris immediately asked Rudeus to make love that night? Rudeus stated that if Eris wanted to do that, she had to follow the schedule. However, Eris replied that she had already been given permission by Roxy and Sylphiette. Rudeus suggested they should set the mood first, perhaps by drinking wine. But Eris didn't care. She was already impatient, and in the end, devoured Rudeus like a wild animal. Rudeus even felt bad for his little brother because he was treated like a toy by Eris. The next morning, when Rudeus woke up, the trauma of Eris suddenly leaving him resurfaced. However, when he turned and saw Eris by his side, he felt calm. Even though Eris had finally returned to him, the anxiety hadn't completely disappeared. He truly didn't want Eris to leave again. Did you know that after more than a week of isolating himself in deep depression over Paul's death, Rudeus was finally confronted by Roxy? She approached him with a sincere plea, urging him to share his pain with her so he wouldn't have to bear it alone. Roxy revealed that during her time as an adventurer, she had also lost a companion she considered a brother, and thus, she understood the agony Rudeus was experiencing. Overwhelmed by his grief, Rudeus accused Roxy of lying. He argued that because she still had her parents, she couldn't possibly grasp the depth of his loss. Roxy, with a heavy heart, acknowledged that her parents were indeed alive. However, she then told Rudeus of the comfort and warmth she had felt living in Buena Village, where Paul and Zenith had shown her the true meaning of family. They had become her second family, filling her life with happiness and memories she had never known before. With tears in her eyes, Roxy confessed that she, too, was suffering from the loss of Paul and the tragic fate that had befallen Zenith. Despite being a small and seemingly powerless Sisho, she had lived long enough to understand that kind of pain. She implored him to share all his burdens with her. In that moment, Rudeus felt an overwhelming surge of comfort from Roxy, and they eventually embraced throughout the night. Did you know that when Lucy was born, she seemed very happy whenever she was with Zenith? From the moment she arrived, Lucy was a cheerful and energetic baby. When Zenith first laid eyes on Lucy, she couldn't take her gaze off her. Whenever Rudeus was taking care of Lucy, Zenith would always come over to them. Once, Lucy reached out her finger towards Zenith with a laugh and a smile, and Zenith held Lucy's finger. Although Zenith's face remained expressionless and she didn't speak, Rudeus could sense the deep aura of love from a grandmother for her grandchild. Every time Lucy interacted with Zenith, her smile would light up the room. Rudeus' heart felt warm seeing his daughter so happy with her grandmother, and it was all thanks to Paul that these moments could happen. Did you know that Rudeus met Sarah again in Ranoa? Upon their reunion, Sarah learned that Rudeus was already married. She was even more surprised when Rudeus revealed he had 2 wives. Rudeus then apologized for their past interactions, but Sarah told him it wasn't necessary. It turns out Sarah had misunderstood the situation at the time. She had heard from someone that Rudeus was dealing with his own issues back then. In fact, Sarah had wanted to apologize to Rudeus for being selfish and not understanding his true situation. Rudeus explained that his condition at that time was caused by a girl named Eris. During this period, Sylphie came to heal him. Later, when he faced yet another difficult time, it was Roxy who stood by him and offered her unwavering support. Both women carved irreplaceable places in Rudeus's heart. In contrast, when he met Sarah, he was merely seeking a distraction to escape his pain, using her to move on without any genuine affection for her. Rudeus thought Sarah would get angry, but instead, she was impressed. This openness was a big change from how Rudeus used to be. Sarah realized that even if she had known about Rudeus's troubles back then, she wouldn't have been able to help him. She assured him it was okay, explaining that while she once had feelings for him, she had moved on since then. In the end, they reconciled and agreed to maintain their friendships. Did you know that Nina assumed Eris had died after deciding to leave in search of Rudeus and help him fight Orsted? When Eris left the Holy Land of Swords to confront Orsted, Nina thought she had perished because she hadn't heard any news or received any letters since then. However, a few years later, when Nina was invited to Ariel's coronation festival in our city of the Asura Kingdom, she spotted Eris from a distance. Eris wasn't alone, she was with Rudeus and Lucy, who was being carried on her shoulder. Nina suspected that Lucy was Eris's child. Eris was seen laughing and joking with Rudeus while carrying Lucy. This was when Nina noticed a significant change in Eris. Back at the Sword Sanctuary, Eris was fierce, aggressive, and mainly focused on becoming stronger. However, the Eris in front of her was beyond her imagination. She was happily joking with Rudeus and appeared tame. Afterward, they went on a tour in the Asura Kingdom to see the parade. It was a heartwarming moment, but Nina found it terrifying. How could such a wild beast become so tame? This was nothing like the mad dog Eris she knew. Nina failed to understand that Eris may be fierce, but that doesn't mean she lacks a warm side when she's with the people she loves. Did you know that Norn often accompanied Lucy when she felt lonely? Lucy often felt lonely when her parents were dealing with urgent situations. There was no one she could play with because her younger siblings were still very small at that time. Lonely Lucy would always wait for her parents to come home, either peeking out the window or sitting in the closet hugging her knees to her chest. It was during these times that Norn stepped in. Norn, seeing Lucy's loneliness, saw herself in Lucy. She knew how Lucy felt because she had felt the same way when Paul didn't come. Therefore, Norn often invited her to play, doing activities such as going fishing, exploring the university, shopping, and more. Lucy already considered Norn her big sister. However, in one incident, Cliff came with news that a plague had spread in the Super Grace village. Norn, knowing that Rudeus was affected, felt very worried and really wanted to go with Cliff to help immediately. But seeing Lucy's lonely face, Norn decided not to go. After hearing Norn's story, Lucy realized that Rudeus was someone dear to Norn. Lucy then told Norn to go, but Norn replied, "Wouldn't you be lonely?" Lucy said that she wouldn't be. That was a lie. But Lucy remembered Eris's words. Protecting people is important. As Norn departed, Lucy felt a warm sense of pride, knowing she had helped someone she loved. Did you know that there's a creature that hasn't been properly introduced in the anime? This creature only has a few cameos and limited screen time in each frame. That creature is Jiro, a large armadillo that Rudeus took as a pet after his journey on the Greyrat continent. Jiro Armadillo was initially bought by geese on the Greyrat continent. Rudeus couldn't bear to leave Jiro in the desert to be eaten by monsters, so he brought him home and named him. Eventually, Jiro becomes one of the family pets of the Greyrat household. Jiro is truly the GOAT, yet it's unfortunate he hasn't received a proper introduction despite his significant role. It is Jiro who accompanies Roxy every time she goes to work. It is Jiro who willingly carries heavy items. It is Jiro who often sleeps by the fireplace, and when scolded, he curls up into a ball. Although Jiro is very shy, if someone unfamiliar and threatening approaches the household, he can growl to scare them away. Just like Leo the sacred dog and Beat the Trink monster, Jiro always tries to protect Rudeus' family. He is undeniably the GOAT. Did you know that Sylphie would choose for Ariel to die rather than Rudeus? During the Asura Kingdom throne succession conflict, Luke briefly became Hitogami's apostle, manipulated into believing that Orsted was an evil demon who couldn't be trusted, and that Rudeus and Ariel were influenced by Orsted. In the ensuing battle between Ariel's faction and her brother Grabbles, just moments before Ariel's victory, Luke took Ariel hostage in front of Sylphie. She couldn't understand what Luke was doing, and even Luke himself was unsure of his actions. An argument ensued, with Luke asking Sylphie if she trusted Orsted. Sylphie responded that she did not. Luke then questioned why she still trusted Rudeus, who was clearly Orsted's subordinate. Sylphie firmly told Luke not to be confused. She clarified that it wasn't Orsted she trusted, but Rudeus. To Sylphie, Rudeus, who fought to protect his family, didn't deserve to be doubted. She would continue to support and trust him even if he was influenced by Orsted. This made Luke irritated, and he demanded Sylphie choose between Ariel's life and Rudeus's. Sylphie asserted that if forced to choose, she would prioritize her child and husband. Even if they might be killed by Orsted, at least their bond as husband and wife would remain eternal. When Luke turned around, he saw Rudeus standing there, covering his mouth in a shy manner after overhearing his wife's heartfelt confession.
Did you know that even though she still harbors hatred towards Orsted, Eris feels a deep sense of gratitude towards him? When Rudeus informed Eris that Orsted was now on their side and they wouldn't be fighting him, she was very irritated. Eris had trained extensively in swordsmanship to protect Rudeus and viewed Orsted as his greatest threat. She wanted to kill him, but then suddenly Rudeus decided to become his subordinate. Despite being annoyed, Eris accepted Rudeus' decision because her true goal was to protect him and become his equal, although she continued to hate Orsted. Initially, Eris remained cautious whenever Orsted was with Rudeus, ensuring Rudeus' safety. There were even times when she wanted to strike him, such as when Orsted almost touched Sieg, or when Rudeus felt intimidated by Orsted's angry face, thinking he might attempt something. Her distrust of Orsted took a long time to fade. However, it was Rudeus' fight with Orsted that ultimately brought Rudeus and Eris back together. Rudeus even joked that Orsted was like their Cupid, to which Eris replied with disdain. Despite her lingering hatred, Eris can't help but feel a grudging gratitude towards Orsted, knowing that without him, she and Rudeus might never have reunited. Did you know that in a bonus manga story, there's a heartwarming conversation among the trio Sword Land? This event takes place in the city of Ars and Asura after they have all gotten married. One day, the trio chat about how they ended up with their partners. Initially, Iseult asks Nina, who is pregnant, about how she ended up with Gino and who proposed first. Nina explains that she initially expressed her feelings to Gino, who was oblivious at the time. Eventually, it was Gino who proposed to her and expressed his desire to be with her. Nina then asks Iseult how she ended up with Doga. Iseult replies that Doga's confession really touched her. Here, Eris, who is unaware of the topic they are discussing, interrupts, exclaiming how amazing Rudeus is. Iseult and Nina, tired of hearing this praise from Eris, which she has probably said more than 100 times, exchange mischievous glances. Nina then mischievously tells her that she once visited Rudeus at the Ranoa Magic Academy. Eris, suddenly surprised and unaware, asks what Rudeus actually did at that time. Rudeus suddenly feels uneasy, even sneezing.
Did you know that Rudeus didn't expect Rudeus to also have feelings for Norn? Upon hearing Orsted's story about Norn and Rudeus always ending up together in every loop due to the strength of their fates, and their child being a great asset against Laplace's second war in the future, Rudeus then planned for Norn and Rudeus to be together in this current loop for Orsted's benefit. However, Rudeus needed to confirm Norn's feelings first. After hearing directly from Norn that she indeed liked Rudeus encouraged her to leave everything to him. Subsequently, Rudeus visited Rudeus and inquired if he harbored affection for Norn, as he initially doubted Rudeus' feelings towards her in this current loop. Rudeus, expressing his understanding, then led Rudeus into a forest where he ambushed him. Surprised by Rudeus' sudden attack, Rudeus eventually admitted defeat. Following this, Rudeus asked if his abilities were sufficient to protect Norn. Rudeus didn't expect such a question from Rudeus. Rudeus revealed that he had also nurtured feelings for Norn, since she nursed him during the Battle of Bihiro and desired to marry her. This emphasizes that even amidst Rudeus' presence in the current timeline, fate's relentless force entwines their paths. Did you know that despite suffering from middle child syndrome, Norn managed to accomplish remarkable things? Since childhood, Norn felt frustrated as she was constantly compared to her siblings. Both Rudeus and Aisha were praised as geniuses from a young age, while Norn appeared ordinary in comparison. Feeling inferior, Norn initially resented these comparisons but eventually accepted that she wasn't as extraordinary as her siblings. However, without realizing it, Norn was actually a remarkable individual capable of achieving what others could not. She's a hard worker who persevered and eventually became the student council president of Ranoa Magic Academy after Ariel. Norn may not have shared her siblings' innate talents, but she wasn't without gifts. She was a talented writer who, in the future, became an established author. Her books profoundly influenced those around her and were even referenced in significant works. She was the one keeping Rudeus' legacy alive. Her writing also played a crucial role in dispelling hatred toward the supered race through her book The Great Adventures of the Supered Race. This monumental achievement restored the reputation of an entire race, something that seemed impossible for others to accomplish. Most importantly, Norn achieved happiness, a feat that eluded Aisha by the time Norn married Rudeus. For the first time, Aisha felt overshadowed by Norn's achievement. In the end, Norn's true victory wasn't over her siblings, but over her own doubts and insecurities. Did you know that the Doldia tribe once wanted Ghislaine dead? When she was young, Ghislaine was wild and uncontrollable, always exuding a murderous aura and often attempting to act on it. Because of this, everyone despised her. Finally, the tribe decided to exile her, hoping she would die. However, Galfarian saw her potential to become a great swordsman and took her to the Sword Sanctuary. In the Sword Sanctuary, Ghislaine's behavior and attitude slowly changed. Over time, she became increasingly skilled with the sword, earning people's respect. There were often rumors in the Doldia tribe about the Sword King Ghislaine, but they believed these were just false. When she earned the title of Sword King, Galfarian sent Ghislaine out of the Sword Sanctuary to embark on a warrior's journey. It was during this journey that she met Paul and went on adventures. After their group disbanded, she met Soros and became a guard for the Boreas family. After the teleport incident, she eventually became one of Ariel's knights. The rumors persisted, but her brother, Jais, did not believe them until Ghislaine returned to the Doldia tribe with Rudeus and Eris. Jais questioned her audacity to return and if she resented the village for trying to kill her. With newfound dignity, Ghislaine calmly explained she had been saved by the Doldia name multiple times and felt no resentment. Instead, she felt sorry and remorseful for her past actions. Ghislaine bowed her head. In other words, his sister had grown up properly. Jais remembered Rudeus' words that people can change, and as chief of Doldia, Jais finally welcomed his sister home.